Everyone has practiced a 3-2-1 scenario at a park, in their driveway.
2.5 seconds to go.
So the idea that I got to do something that everybody dreams of doing at such a big stage, like storybook.
Brusewitz to midcourt. Brust has it, lets it go.
Holy Buckeye!
Watford for the win. Yes!
Goodbye! Hello!
Inbounds pass to Brust. Will hoist one up. He hit it! Big Brust for three!
Sports has always been an important part of our family, my wife's family.
Decker. Come on, Decker. Come on. Come on, Frankie.
We have 2 dogs, Decker after Sam Decker, and the grandkids got together and they liked Frank Kaminsky at the time, and so it's Frank. So we have Decker and Frankie. When we moved to Madison, I believe it was when Coach Alvarez said, "You better get your season tickets now." I did. And when the Kohl Center was built is when we bought our tickets for the basketball team. Allie, or Allison, is our youngest of 4. She liked everything I like. I think her enthusiasm for Wisconsin sports emanated from me.
Brust with an acrobatic shot, got it to go.
Allie definitely had a crush on Ben. Every time we were at a game, her eyes seemed to be glued to where he was.
I grew up in the northwest suburbs of Chicago and ended up being an all-state player in the state of Illinois. Everything that I've done my entire life has been based off competition. I was the gym class hero. The way I learned to shoot was when I was playing against my older brothers. We had a rule that on the sidewalk, there was the square of relief. And you couldn't attack the offensive player. So the way I learned to shoot from deep was the square of relief. I made a 3/4 court shot in high school. It's just something I was always comfortable doing. I'm confident about every shot I'm gonna throw up.
Ben Brust coming out of high school was a very good scorer, very proficient shooter. Maybe defensively he had some things he needed to improve on, but who doesn't?
When I came into the University of Wisconsin, Bo Ryan told me that I was the worst defender to ever come into any of his programs.
This kid has voodoo on the ball.
My only advantage was the long-range shooting, but I never found time consistently on the court. My sophomore year, I had an up and down season, but I had set the all-time single-game three-point record twice.
Deep jump shot.
Ben was the kind of guy that believed he could step off the bus, shoot the ball, and it would go in the basket. At practice, we have a three-point shooting contest. And nobody made more threes than Ben.
In January of 2013 at Iowa, I hit a half-court shot, but it didn't count.
And that's that for half number 1. It does not count. Too late.
When Bo said I was always in range, whether I was in the building or not, I believed that and I lived that.
During pregame, Ben would sit on the bench. Sitting down, he would shoot shots at the basket. I started working with the Badgers in 1993. I would shoot our games, and then you look at it and like, wow, that happened. That was a split second, and I caught it. When you photograph athletes, there's the action, but photos that get the most reactions are emotion.
And Brust brings them to their feet at the Kohl Center.
When he would hit a big basket, he would really get fired up. And Ben definitely had the emotions.
Coach Ryan made it an initiative to make sure that we were always practicing late game scenarios.
2-3.
I am obsessed with special situations. 2 second, 5 seconds, end line, sideline, half court.
Bo would say, put 1 second on there, no timeouts left, you can run the baseline. I think he found a thrill out of trying to figure out as many situations as possible.
In 2011 at Michigan, we were down 2 with seconds to go. So we ran a special on the sideline, which we ran 1,000 times.
He finds Gasser for the win. Oh my goodness, off the window.
And I always say nothing but net, and he goes, "Coach, don't you remember I banked it in?" I said, "Yeah, but after it hit the backboard, Josh, it hit nothing but net." At least the players had an idea when a special situation came up, what to do.
In May of 2012, when Allison was 19 years old, she was having difficulty with stomach aches. They decided to do some x-rays of her abdomen and found that there were large tumors that had engulfed her liver. Allison had a rare form of cancer called a neuroendocrine tumor. At every turn, it just seemed to be a bad result for Allison. Sports is one of those things where no matter what you're dealing with, it gives you an escape. Those are the happy moments that we had, and during that period of time, we really didn't have a lot of those. Several of the Wisconsin Badger basketball players were tweeting at her to get well. She would just beam because she'd gotten a tweet from Frank Kaminsky or Josh Gasser.
Josh Gasser and I came in the same recruiting class, and we roomed together for 3 years, and those were some of the best years of my life. In October of 2012 at practice, there was a turnover, and trying to become that more well-rounded player that Bo needed me to be, I sprinted and tried to take a charge on Josh Gasser. Unfortunately, he stepped on my foot, and instead of his ankle going, his knee went.
Josh tore his ACL and put him out for the season.
It sucked. That was my guy I wanted to go to war with.
The coaches and the players around Ben weren't going to let him wallow for very long. It was Ben's turn now to come in and get some of those minutes at the guard spot.
I don't think I put any more pressure on myself than I needed to. I just knew what I had to do.
Nicely done, Ben Brust.
February 6th, 2013. It was discovered that the tumor had gone up Allison's inferior vena cava and was penetrating the atrium of her heart. The main surgeon came to me and said, you should be thinking in terms of a month or two. So we checked in on February 6th. That was the day that Wisconsin played Iowa.
Big bucket for the Badgers, Ben Brust.
We had a few more treatments, and then she got discharged on the 8th, on that Friday. Just exhausted, mentally, physically. So the next game was Michigan at home. Saturday morning, I went to wake her up, and she was pretty out of it. And I said, Allie, you don't have to go. We can watch it on TV. She was out of that bed in no time at all, and said, "Are you kidding me? We're going."
Michigan was 21-2, and they were ranked 3rd in the country.
Michigan was really good. They had National Player of the Year Trey Burke. I believe they had 6 professional NBA basketball players on that team. I mean, that team was loaded.
Number 3 Michigan. It's about as tough a road test against an unranked team as you could have in the country. 5 of the last 6 top 5 teams to come to Wisconsin have lost.
We were in the Central Time Zone, so it was an 11 a.m. tip, which meant that the guys were gathering in the hotel lobby a little earlier than they normally were. And for me specifically, the day before I just turned 50. We did grow up in a very unique household in the sense that my father was an extremely successful major college football and basketball official. My brother Tony, we kind of started officiating at the same time. After hundreds of small college basketball games and football games, in the mid to late 90s, I got my first opportunity to work major college basketball.
You just don't get a lot of whistles when these 2 teams get together.
I always looked at Coach Ryan's teams as being extremely fundamentally sound.
They let us play in the first half. When you have 2 teams that don't foul, take care of the ball, you're not going to get a lot of whistles.
We give that player a chance at this play, give him a bite at the apple. Could we have put some whistles for ticky-tack fouls in there? I think there was a possibility of it, but just feeling that we were all on the same page to get the big fouls.
Hardaway Jr. hits his first triple.
First half, Wisconsin's playing in front of where we were sitting. And Ben got the ball and drained a 3.
Brust tries to answer. He's got it.
Bo knew that I was going to take some shots that probably weren't in the rhythm of the offense, but I was going to make a good majority of them, and that was one of them.
Blocked inside, thrown out by Kaminsky. Brust gives it up. Decker finishes.
I was right in front of the students section the entire game, and you can feel that energy.
Marshall straight away. He hits a triple.
Allie was on her feet for most of the game. I turned to her once and I said, "Are you doing okay?" And she kind of gave me that disappointing look like, "Mind your own business."
Stauskas from the corner. Knocks down a 3. And just like that, the Wolverines are right back within a point.
This game was back and forth the whole game. No team had a double-digit lead.
The play that I remember the most was Jared Berggren turning the corner and dunking in an and 1.
Berggren will attack down the lane and throw it down, plus the foul. Wow.
If we'd have been on the playground, I'd have jumped up and down. Jared Berggren just sent a message. We're still in this game. We're going to attack. We're going to keep coming at you. You're going to have to stop us.
The game was tied, and we had 3 fouls to give.
They had called timeout, and I said, if he starts to turn the corner, reach in, foul. You never know what the officials are going to call.
Let's be prepared for Wisconsin reaching in, but if they weren't fouls the last 2 hours, they can't be fouls the last 20 seconds.
Not fouling yet. It's Hardaway. Brusewitz all over him.
Brusewitz went over the screen. He was right with him. He kind of brushes the nose of Hardaway and the arm.
There was brief contact. Did not feel like it had any material effect on the play.
For 3. Got it! 2.5 seconds to go.
Give credit where credit's due, but yes, we thought we fouled.
There were people that were putting their coats on. There were people that actually were getting up to leave.
I mean, the tone was pretty somber. I don't know. I just felt like it wasn't over.
Both teams have played overtime games this week, and Michigan trying to avoid another overtime game.
The night before 11 a.m. Michigan, Wisconsin, we practiced the 2-second down 3 scenario. Mike Brusewitz has always taken the ball out of the baseline. Jared Berggren is a guy that goes deep as the big guy. And Sam Decker and Trayvon Jackson were crossing across the backcourt. My job is called the wild card. if all else fails and Mike does not throw the ball in, there is no choice but for me to get open.
I'm underneath the Michigan basket. Coach Ryan had called the timeout, and if he hadn't called that timeout, I wouldn't have been in the spot that I was to get the shot. I'm looking down, and there's 2 Michigan photographers sitting in the spot that I'm normally in, and there are no photo positions available. And right next to the radio broadcast booth, there's a little aisle between the front row seats. And I'm in a spot that is not a photo position. I'm not allowed to be there.
Brusewitz will throw it in. Let's see what Michigan does. Will they foul?
John Beilein just yelled foul.
I wanted to angle myself in a way where I was going to be able to get away from my defender because I knew foul, foul was being yelled all across the gym by Coach Beilein and their staff.
Allie grabbed a hold of my arm, and then I was like, very hard. And so it was almost like she was bracing for something.
I do remember with Brusewitz, he kind of hitches and takes this little false step, and I remember thinking, don't step on that line. Don't make us be that group now that ends this game.
He didn't throw it into Trey Crossing, who was clapping his hands, who clearly wanted it. Sam didn't get it, Berg didn't get it, which meant I knew at that moment I was going to get it. And as soon as I let that thing go, I swear to God, I said, holy bleep, that is going in.
Brusewitz to midcourt. Brust has it, lets it go. Knocks it down!
Ben ran 100 miles an hour, jumped up in the air, and I don't think he has any idea who caught him.
Josh did the I have a torn ACL walk. I want to be a part of this, but I should also be careful, but I want to celebrate with the team.
For a brief moment, I'm like, I hope she's okay, because she's getting jarred around, but she didn't care.
This is a play that I'll remember for the rest of my life. And selfishly, I kind of looked around the entire Kohl Center just for about 3 seconds, just to enjoy the exhilaration.
I think Bo caught himself. He threw his arms in the air, and then he kind of quickly threw him down because he's like, wait, that's not me. I hopped over the chair, and I sat down. I told the team, we have to win this game so that shot means something. We got the number 3 team in the country here going to overtime. Let's win this damn game. Overtime just felt like it was a lot of feeling out again. Like you were watching the first 4 minutes of the game. Towards the end of overtime, I had an opportunity on a post-up. Like, I just hit the half-court shot to send us to overtime, and now you're missing layups. Like, way to go.
Stauskas grabs the rebound, and a lot of times, right, teams start to retreat at that point.
Slapped at, though, by Brust. And Wisconsin gets it back. 40 seconds to go.
When it gets under 10, you usually give it up and do a ball screen. But I just felt it. Another one where as soon as I let it go, I was like, that's going in.
Brust for 3. He's got it!
That shot, to me, this is going to sound crazy. It just meant a little bit more because it was the game winner.
Burke, in and out. That'll do it. In overtime, Wisconsin survives.
As soon as the buzzer went off, I ran right to the middle of the floor, and there's nothing better than your teammates lifting you up.
I saw 2 young girls come rushing out of the bleachers. It was my 2 youngest daughters. They were kind of right in the middle of the charge.
As everybody starts to go this way, you start to navigate through the running of the Bulls. And then we got to celebrate with a Gatorade and a cold cut sandwich with good Wisconsin cheese and celebrate my 50th birthday.
Hey, fans, way to keep the Kohl Center rocking here. That was awesome.
We had a very long and hard hug. I'll never forget it. And then she turns to me and she goes, "Dad, let's rush the court." I put my father hat back on. I'm like Allie, I don't think that's a good idea. And we didn't. It's something I regret. I wish we would have done that. There was 2 hours of her life that she didn't have to think about what she was going through. And that was amazing.
Inbounds pass to Brust across half court. He'll hoist one up. He hit it! Ben Brust for three!
You know you shot it, but now is it good? The ball goes through the basket, his arms go up in the air, and I fire the frame.
The first thing I see is what almost looks like me doing the double bird, but it's just the double #1 sign in the air, I promise. I also see Karis LeVert. What am I supposed to do?
When I showed the photo to Coach Ryan, he even said, I never do that. There's 2 photographers from Michigan, and they both have, I call them O faces, and they're like, oh. And then you look at the Spirit Squad, and they have O faces, but their O faces are a little different. They're like, It's just a game, but it's a lot more than that.
Allie was declining on a pretty rapid pace. And about the first part of April, she had lost a ton of weight and was back in the hospital, which turned out to be for the last time. The Badger players tweeted at her again. She enjoyed probably Ben's the most. And then and she passed away about a week later.
I really wasn't fully aware of the depth of the story about Allie until I had met her father. To see him immediately pull up his phone and show me the picture of him and Allie in the stands. It's crazy to think that she felt joy from that game with her father and how much that will forever mean to them. Knowing that game is bigger than just hitting the half-court shot and the game winner, I'd say makes it, just more special now. After the game, we were all at our apartment complex, and Zach Showalter and I got on the elevator, and it stopped, not on the first floor. And I believe it got stuck on the 2nd and a half floor. And we just started tweeting that we were stuck in an elevator. The fire department came about an hour and a half, 2 hours later, and propped the door open, and people were just, how does this happen? The guy hits the half-court shot, the game winner, they beat Michigan, he's stuck in the elevator.